Years ago this week, as the song goes, the gales of November came early. 7 Northwest Ohio men lost their lives on Lake Superior and became part of an American legend. They were aboard the ill-fated Edmund Fitzgerald. That giant ore carrier was making its last trip of the season when it became a casualty of one of the worst storms in decades. 13 ABC's Lisa Guyton spent time with several Toledoans who've never talked about the tragedy before that killed their loved ones, and she joins us now with more. Lisa.
Lee and Diane, there have been 6,000 shipwrecks on the Great Lakes, killing 30,000 people. But most people only remember one: the unsolved mystery of the Edmund Fitzgerald. The Fitz was the pride of the American side, but the giant freighter was unable to win the war against Mother Nature that stormy November night. When she was christened in 1958, the Edmund Fitzgerald became the biggest ship to ever sail the Great Lakes. Through the years, the 729-foot freighter set record after record, including most iron ore carried in a single trip and most carried in a season. But on November 10, 1975, she carried her crew to the bottom of Lake Superior. Ruth Hudson's son, Bruce, took time off from college to work as a deckhand. She learned about the death of her only child on her car radio.
The news came on, and the announcer said, ore carrier sinks in Lake Superior. And I just never give it much thought. I thought the Fitzgerald was in Detroit already, not knowing that the storm had held them up. Well, then when he came back on, he said it was the Fitzgerald and there was no survivors.
Heather West is Bruce Hudson's only child. She was born 6 months after the ship went down. Today, she lives in the same Oregon neighborhood where her parents met more than 30 years ago.
I just wish that I would have had a chance to meet him and to be with him. And sometimes that's really frustrating. I definitely have thought that I've had a piece of me missing. You know, there's been something missing in my life.
The night the Fitz went missing, a wild storm was pounding Lake Superior. Waves were more than 30 feet and winds were blowing at more than 90 miles an hour. The giant ore carrier went down without a call for help. The shock hit especially close to home for Tom Walton. His uncle, Ralph Walton, was one of the 29 men who went down with the ship. Tom is now the editor of the Toledo Blade. But in 1963, he worked on board the Edmund Fitzgerald as a porter. His father also spent time on the Big Fitz as the chief engineer.
I just couldn't believe it. I thought, oh, okay, they'll find the guys tomorrow when the storm lets up. And then they talk about those mangled lifeboats, and of course, nobody had time to even put on a life vest or get off.
Arnie Lawson has worked here at the CSX docks in Toledo for more than 4 decades. The Fitz unloaded at these docks numerous times. Lawson was on duty that stormy November night.
She was the flagship. She was everything, and it showed. They had the best captain, they had the best crew, and they had the best boat. So it was a shame and it was a shock.
Toledo was a frequent port of call for the Big Fitz. In fact, the giant ore carrier spent many winters at this very dock here in the Glass City. So some say that even though it said Milwaukee on her stern, Toledo was truly the Edmund Fitzgerald's home port. She was here for the last time on October 31st, 1975. 10 days later, she carried her crew into the history books.
This was Toledo's ship, and Toledo took great pride in it. And if you looked at the list of the 29 men who died, there's a disproportionate number who did come from the Toledo area.
Ruth Hudson came to the CSX Toledo docks many times when Bruce was sailing the lakes, but she has not been here since the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
The grief and pain is still there, but I think I've learned to live with it a little more in the years. But as 30 years come, you just think, how can it possibly be 30 years, you know? Because to me, it was yesterday.
30 years after the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, the cause remains a mystery. The investigation into the shipwreck was the most extensive in Great Lakes history. But today, there are still more questions than answers. Tomorrow night on 13 Action News at 5, we'll take you to a place that has brought the victims' families some peace in the wake of all of those questions. Reporting live, Lisa Guyton, 13 ABC Action News.
Lisa, thank you.